everyone. How are you? I'm Ann with Andale Homestead.
Hello, everyone. It is Casey over at Ormsby Farms.
Good morning. Sandy at Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona.
And I'm Monica with Bland's Promised Land Ranch. Welcome in, guys. We're so excited to be here today on our Monday podcast episode. We discussed how to store, not talk, how to store fresh fruits and veggies. Because, the idea is we have, people go out and buy them or they grow them. And you always get confused when it comes time to store them. How do you store the apples and the onions, or even the, maybe those winter vegetables that you pull in? I feel like those are the ones that are the most confusing for people when they're harvesting. A lot of times we harvest stuff and then it just stays on our table or on our counter forever. And when you want to have a family dinner, you can't have fruits and vegetables just sitting on your table. That's just the no. I mean, unless you just want to eat somewhere else. But that may actually be my life. But we talked about where to store them so that they can last longer, because we don't want to waste our money. I mean, this day and age, we're spending so much on groceries. So we talked about this past week, and we're here to talk a little bit more about that. Maybe you can glean some more information from the conversation here this morning. But while we're here, let's throw it over to Miss Ann Dale and say welcome in, everybody, because we're trickling in one by one. So let's say hello.
That's so awesome. Good morning. Yeah, thank God for last minute lazy days ahead with Jesse and Lisa. Jesse is my um prompt. He is the cattle rod that sits in there and says, "Girl, get yourself together." Hi, Nancy from our treasured home. I'm so glad you're here, honey, and that things have worked for you. Hey, Karma. Thank you from Lewis Acre Farm. Cynthia Delot, all the way from the Netherlands. Hey, Queen. Hey, Unbiased LLC. I'm so glad to have you in here. She's such a hoot. Hello, Melanie. We're so glad you're here. Thank you. Vision Preparedness, my buddy, my pal. I love him, and y'all need to follow him for some more information. Hey, Treasure Hunter Neil. Good morning, you friendly thing. Living my best life at 60. While I'm 65, I need to find out how to live my best life. Thank you, sweetie, for being in here. We appreciate you all. So we're storing our crops and things that we have gotten. And oftentimes, if I could start off, what our dilemma is at the end of the season, where you still have tomatoes that are on the vine, but it's getting ready to frost. So you're either going to get them off green, or you you're going to lose them because they're going to freeze. So Worth and I have a number of times gathered all those green tomatoes. We have made tomato verde out of them, dips and salsas and things out of green tomatoes in order to be able to store them. But one trick that my granddaddy taught me was, if you get those green tomatoes and wrap them in newspaper, put them in a cardboard box, and we put them underneath our bed, then they ripen even in the wintertime without sunshine. And that was a lot of fun to be able to do that. So, Sandy, what do you do to store some of your harvest before it gets caught by old man weather?
Well, there's a lot of things, and um, I'm going to ask the people in the chat one question since you were talking about tomatoes.
Yeah.
Now, I read an article. I have not tried this, but I am going to try it next year. That they stored their tomatoes. Some were red, some were green. They had them in a box. They put a layer of ash, like from your wood stove.
Oh,
They put the tomatoes not touching, and then they put ash over top of it. And it's supposed to do a chemical thing that will make them last longer. So I wanted to know if anybody in the chat had ever tried
wow.
that, because I'm going to try it. So I just thought, that's interesting. And it had all the chemical stuff of why it works. Does it? I'm not sure, but
I
it's
don't
worth a
know, but that
try.
sounds amazing. I mean, we have ash from our wood piles that we burn from yard trash, and we have ash from the charcoal. I wonder if that would work. I'm curious as to how that would work. The charcoal from your grill, because you got meat droppings and things like that in
Yeah,
there.
that I'm not sure about. But this was just ash that they had from a wood stove. And
Oh,
so
yeah, we have a wood stove.
so I thought, something to try. And maybe somebody in the chat has tried that, or that when they watch the replay of it, maybe they could put it in the comments just so that we can read them and see. But I think it's important for us to know what vegetable or fruit and how to store it. Does it go in the fridge? Does it stay on your counter? Do you wrap it? Like my earliest memories are my mom had this gallon jar, and my dad was the gardener, not my mom. But when they came in, she would slice them all up and put them in water in this gallon jar. And we would just eat them continuously, and they would last a really long time. They'd stay really crispy. Um, for me, for carrots, we use a great big garbage can. And I put layers of straw, then carrots and straw, then carrots and straw. And I don't let them touch, and they'll last so long. And we keep it in our garage because it's
That's
cool there.
amazing.
We do the same thing with potatoes, and because we want them to last. And I always put the largest ones on the bottom, and as it goes up in the can, they get smaller, because the smaller they are, the more likely they'll get soft first.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's just one trick that we have done. What about you, Casey?
Well, me, Monica, and Ann are in the South. Let me tell you about the South is weather. Okay. So it was wonderful for a minute. I was so excited because I put this a sheet on my door, thanks to Sandy and her saying, Casey, this is what you need to do to keep your canning room nice and cool, because that's where I store a lot of like spaghetti squash and butternut squash and that kind of stuff. And we started getting nice little cooler weather, and I was like, yes, I'm getting it to 68 in there. And then now today in November we're at 82, so my canning room is back up to 75. And all of my ones that I'm trying to store are saying, hey, we're going to sprout and or die if you do not move next door to Sandy.
Oh my
That is what
goodness.
it's saying. But no, I have tried doing it in the big giant tubs, the same kind of thing. I would do wood chips and then layer not touching wood chips all the way up. Didn't work that great for us here in Georgia. I am just not able to store a lot of things like potatoes, carrots, that kind of stuff. I've been really good with storing spaghetti squash. I don't know if spaghetti squash is just an easier one. I put them on it was supposed to be a wire shoe rack underneath my canning shelves, so where they're not touching and airflow can get to all of them. But me and Monica joked that we put like sweet potatoes or potatoes in there, and then come March, you see like a vine growing out of your canning
You have
stuff.
new friends.
Yeah. So I just have not been able to store a lot of ones. But I will say, after listening to the episode, Sandy, you talked about storing your fruits. Some of the fruits don't like to be stored together because of the octane, I think was what you
Ethanol gas.
and there we go. That's the one. And it keeps it longer if you store them not together or on the counter. And I did that with my citrus. I took my citrus out of that crisper shelf. That I think all of us think that's what it's for, is to put all your fruits in there, and you really shouldn't. So I learned something from the episode. What about you, Monica?
Well, I like that you said that Monica and I joked about putting stuff
Is it
in
really?
having stuff grow. That was a real life situation at the time. Literally left the episode and like went in and grabbed like a bag full of sweet potatoes that I had the best intentions when actually using, and they were like fingerlings coming through. I mean, I could have planted them. I probably should have. I think I just
Yeah,
tossed
you
them.
should have.
But needless to say, yeah, I think I'm really bad at this. I'm really bad at this. The most I've ever done successfully is I have, taken my green vegetables, the green tomatoes, and stored them in boxes and brown, like just like cardboard boxes. Cause if you know me, I got me some Amazon boxes out there. And
Yeah.
so I
Right.
took all my tomatoes that were green, took them off of my kitchen table, and then put them in Amazon boxes, and then stored them loosely around in my pantry area and kind of every crevice I could, without stacking them. And that's been successful for me in how to get them that they will turn more slowly. And I was able to eat them. I mean, I think the longest I ever went from was November. I pulled everything, and I was actually able to enjoy fresh tomatoes till the end of January one year. Yeah,
Isn't that
fresh
awesome?
tomatoes from my garden because they were just slowly turning, and it was cool that year, so I was able to keep them in my pantry, cool, dark place, and it was much better. But yeah, for the most part, everything's so sticky and humid. I mean, we're in November right now, and it's 70 degrees outside. I mean, it is what it is in my life of I just put it somewhere and hope for the best. But
Right.
I did, I leave a lot of my big vegetables like the butternut squash. I feel like that is the most hardy, right, Sandy? Like butternut squash,
It's a hearty one.
because
Yeah.
they're thick skinned, right? So that makes more sense that they would last longer, I guess. But they're the ones that I haven't completely destroyed. Or found in a
Well,
big mushy pile in my pantry. Just saying.
well, for everybody that lives in the northern part of the United States, a lot of times I have pulled the entire tomato plant with all these green tomatoes on it,
Mhm.
turned it upside down, and hung it in my garage. And they'll just slowly
Awesome.
turn the red. You can pull your whole cabbage, turn it
Wow.
upside down, hang it in your garage, and it will last much longer than it
Wow.
would otherwise. It I think you just need to know, does it go in the fridge? Does it go on the counter? Should it be in a cool, dark place with low humidity, high humidity, cool and moist? Then it's probably going in the refrigerator. For me, I have books. I print things off. Like
Mhm.
I have a book of cooking for 50, and it has all these recipes, but it has a whole section, and we talked about this on Monday's episode,
Right.
that it has a whole section on what you should do with every fruits and vegetables. So look in your cookbooks. Go in the back and say, look in the fruit section. Maybe it has a storage line, or maybe it has a complete part in the index of that just says storage, and it'll tell you. Because if I'm in question, I'm going to look it up because I want it to last. Like Joe likes to wrap around cellophane, glad wrap around our bananas, the where they come together.
Uh-huh.
Now, does that work? Maybe a little bit. It's holding some moisture from not going out. But most of the time, when I buy bananas, Joe buys them to eat. I buy them to. I want them to turn brown and speckly so I can make banana bread. So I don't care.
I understand that. I understand that.
You
Well, have
know,
any of
I,
you I was gonna say, go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead, Sandy. You're good.
oh, I just thought, like I have raspberries and I have strawberries.
Mhm.
Now, if I'm going to freeze them, a lot of times I'll put them in vacuum seal them and freeze them. Sometimes I will just cut them up and sprinkle a little sugar on so they make their own juice. They will last way longer in my refrigerator that way than if I just have that package, a bowl of them, or if you're going to the store and you have a regular package, they don't last that long. And pretty soon you have mold all over them.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
That-
disappointing.
It is very
Because it's a lot of
disappointing.
hard work, and when you see the mold after slaving away for 3 months in the garden, you're like, oh, wah wah wah.
Well, last year, I think it was last year or maybe the year before, my daughter and I came across this lady who was storing, it was like, I guess it's like all the fad too, where everybody who stores there, you store your berries, your strawberries, your blueberries, raspberries, whatever it is, storing your berries in mason jars. Have any of you guys ever done that? Do you store your berries in mason jars?
Like
Um,
fresh or dehydrated
Fresh,
or fresh? Mm.
fresh.
No.
I've seen those videos. I have not tried that.
Okay. I have done it. It does work. Now, when I get strawberries, I'll buy 2 packages, okay? Especially if they're on sale. I'll buy the 2 big packages. And my kids go through waves. We all go through those spurts where you're eating something, you're like, "Oh my gosh, I love apples." And then one week all the apples are gone in like 3 days. And then the next week, I'm like, cool, my kids like apples. So then I buy apples and then they sit there and then I have to make apple butter out of them because they've sat there and they've gone bad. So we did that. We do that with all kinds of fruit. So strawberries ended up being the same way. I would buy 2 packages of strawberries and then one package would be eaten, completely gone. And the second package, they would either demolish or they would complain that they're all molded already. So
Right.
we found this lady who started doing it. And she does it with all of her like produce like that, the strawberries and blueberries and blackberries. And what you do is you take your strawberries or whatever berries you have, you completely rinse them. Now, I'm against rinsing my fruits and vegetables as soon as I bring them in because I feel like they last longer if you don't rinse them right away. Like, because my kids will rinse them before they eat them, but whatever. You rinse them all right away. You rinse them in this quick little water vinegar mix, low key, not too much vinegar. You're not trying to like ferment them, but a little bit of water and vinegar. You rinse them, rinse them, rinse them. You let them sit for just a few minutes, 5 minutes. You swish them around, get all that stuff, rinse them off really good. When you're done, you put them on a paper towel and you let them dry, like air dry. And then when they're dry, you put them into the mason jar, put the lid on, and then you stick it in your fridge. My strawberries did not mold, and I was able to keep, and I used a big half-gallon jar in my refrigerator, and I was able to go through all of the strawberries without having any of them being lost. Normally, I always lose at least 2 or 3 strawberries, the bigger ones, to
How
mold.
long did it last? How long
It lasted over a week because I was at the bottom of the jar and I'm like, oh, y'all, somebody needs to eat these because they're going to go bad. And my daughter was like, Mom, I'm eating them. No one else is eating them this time. It's just me right now. And she would put them in her breakfast, her oatmeal or whatever. They lasted the entire time. She's like, I'm down to my last 3, Mom. And I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
I don't do it all the time because it's a little extra work. But if you take more time on the front end, try it. It may work,
Wow.
especially if you're a person that like you want to buy a bigger container of blueberries because they're on sale or they're a better price. Do the blueberries. We did it with blueberries as well, and it worked with the blueberries too.
And you kept the jar in the fridge?
Kept the jar in the fridge. Now, if you see condensation on the inside of that jar, pull them out, wipe down want to get rid of that condensation. And sometimes I think she said you can even put a paper towel in there to help with soak up some of that moisture if it starts.
Okay.
But and I did have it, one of the times I put blueberries in a jar and some of them molded, but I had less loss with putting it in mason jars than I did otherwise. So it just takes more work on the front end. So now I'm buying it. I'm like throwing them in the fridge. My daughter's like, why don't we rinse these? And I'm like, it takes time. I don't have time right now. But if you take the time, you want to save money and you want your fruit and vegetable, your fruit to last longer, try it.
Oh my gosh, I've thrown away so much fresh fruit like that, buying them for the grandchildren. And then they eat and eat and eat and eat. And then they go, I don't want another strawberry.
Yeah. And then what do you do with them? Now, if you can't store them in your fridge, put them in your freezer right before they're about to, go bad, put them in your freezer and pull them out later for smoothies or whatever. Like Sandy likes her bananas to go brown. I don't love them to go brown. Of course, I don't mind because I'll make bread out of them or muffins. But if they start to go brown, usually it's at the time that I don't have time to make something with them. So then I take them and I put them straight in my freezer. And then as soon as I'm ready to use them for something, I pull them out. So my kids are like, why do we have a bag of brown mush in our freezer? I'm like, I have good intentions. Leave me be. We'll make bread out of those later.
That's right. Now, Nala C says, I live in Wyoming and we had snow since mid-October. Yes, Sandy can relate to that, resemble that remark, can't you, Sandy? We didn't even get a chance to pull our beets. I'm going to try and see if I have anything left today. And Sandy has commented back in the chat, but just in case you haven't seen, what is your opinion on that, Sandy?
Oh, I think they'll probably still be good because a beet is something you store in the refrigerator anyway. And so I would pull them up and I would try to use them. Like you can leave carrots. So a lot of times carrots are more sweet after it's frosted or froze.
Okay.
There's people that leave carrots all winter long and they just pile like straw on top of them or leaves, and then they just push it away and dig up all winter long.
Okay. That's encouraging.
See, I've never been able to grow carrots, and I really want to grow carrots. Like
I've grown a few, like every other year. Most of my carrots look like toothpicks, unfortunately. Limpy toothpicks. But I have beautiful greens. I have learned how to change that, though, in the soil. It's all about the soil.
Well, so I do want to say that also, because we were talking about storing fresh fruits and vegetables, and Monica, you mentioned about washing. One thing that I noticed, because I tried for a while buying the store-bought potatoes and trying to store them long-term. Epic fail, because more than likely they have been washed and cleaned before they are in the stores. And last year when I bought potatoes from a farmer friend, they was dirty, like literally when I got the Kroger bag from her, it still had dirt at the bottom of the bag when you're dumping it into your sink. Those lasted a lot longer. Is that because they were unwashed, Sandy? Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
potato.
Yeah, like when I store my carrots and potatoes and stuff, I don't wash them beforehand. I might push a lot of the extra dirt off so I can throw it back in the garden, but I don't wash them. And I find that they last way longer because of that. I think there's microbes we don't see on all of our fruits and vegetables. And I think it helps preserving them when it's got that little bit of soil and you haven't rinsed all the good stuff off of them.
I think that's pretty true for almost anything except for like citrus. If you wash it, it doesn't appear, like as soon as you get it in the house, it doesn't appear to last as long,
Mhm.
rather than wash it to be able to use and to eat. Now, I have a question because my grandbabies love those little cooties or whatever they're called. What are they called? Those little
Oh,
itty
the little
bitty
cuties.
tangerines. Cuties.
The
Oh,
little nectarines, the
clementines.
tangerine,
Clementines.
clementines. There you go.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
clementines. And you get a bag of them and then they eat 4, 5, or 6, and then the rest of the bag gets soggy or turns into little rocks, things like that. What do you suggest? How would I be able to store something like the clementines? Hey, my buddy, Black's Tropical
Well,
Homestead.
citrus should really be stored on your counter.
Okay.
Um, one of the things about clementines, you know how easy they are to peel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that makes them so they don't store as long too, because
Okay.
there's airspace in between there. Now, down in Arizona, one of the crazy things that some people do, take it with a grain of salt. But this is one of the things they do down there is when they pick their citrus and they want to store it for a long time, they rub Vaseline all over them.
Oh.
And because it makes this film on it, so the air can't penetrate through there. Now, I think citrus right off of the tree lasts a long time anyway, but the best place to store citrus is actually on the tree.
Oh,
Some people
yeah.
get in this hurry, and when I'm down in Arizona, you'll at the clubhouse, there'll be boxes of grapefruits and lemons because people have decided, oh, I got to pick them. You don't have to pick them. Just pick them as you use them. Now, in the north, you're buying them at the store. So I would store them on your counter. I wouldn't store them in bowl. I would store them just on your counter, not touching each other.
Oh, okay.
Because a lot of times once they start storing, there's moisture when it touches each other. And that's where you first find that mushy part or the mold on
Right.
citrus.
Right.
So if they're not touching, you're less likely to have that happen. So I when we bring them back up from Arizona, um, I have them in boxes and layers. I usually wrap them in paper and I'll just keep looking at them because they're not
Okay.
touching then.
Okay, because see, you get a bag of those things from the grocery store, so you throw them on your kitchen table, for the kids to be able to get to, or on the counter.
Mhm.
And I haven't taken them out of the bag before. I didn't realize that their touching would make such a difference.
Well,
Um,
all fruit and vegetables produce ethylene gas, and
okay,
that is a natural process. That gas is natural to ripen it.
okay.
And so when you have a whole bunch of different fruit, um, like apples produce so much ethylene gas. So you shouldn't store your apples with any other kind of fruit because your other fruit's going to go bad faster. It's just a natural process, but we want to slow that process down.
So those
Yeah,
pretty fruit
that's one
bowls.
of the reasons I did. As I had all of my apples in with like the lemons and the
Uh-huh.
limes.
Yeah, and
And
That's
yeah,
because
bananas.
that's because all those artists be putting together those fruit bowls.
uh-huh.
I
That's
blame
right.
them.
Way to go,
I blame
Picasso, right?
them. The cornucopias, the fruit bowls, the real pretty pictures, all fake. Fake. Bad idea.
Fake
Oh, well, I
news.
mean, that's
Don't
what
do
it
it.
is. I have a grandmother's wooden bowl that I keep on the kitchen table. It's a large, like, bread bowl, but I
Mhm.
put all these beautiful fruits. It looks so lovely and
It
healthy.
does.
It looks lovely and
Get
healthy.
fake stuff. Make that look pretty first, and then put the real stuff all around it. Spaced out. Spaced out like little
Ah,
peasants around your giant fruit bowl of fake stuff.
okay, I gotcha.
Sandy,
Well,
I was thinking, would it work if we had like like, I know this sounds really stupid. This is gonna come off really weird, but you know when you get the canning boxes that have the little dividers? Like, if I had that, could I put my like oranges in those little dividers and
You
like
could.
store it off to the side? Will
You
it go?
could.
Will they rot faster because they're in paper? Like,
No,
okay, because I'm like,
no.
I mean, I wouldn't. That would be a way to keep them separate from touching one another. And sometimes I have those canning boxes that I'm going to throw away anyway because I'm not using those to store. But I could like literally put my apples in those, and then they
But
would.
but the bad thing about us in the
Brilliant.
South is even doing that and putting it on the counter, we get these wonderful things called little
Fruit
gnats
flies.
and the
Yeah,
fruit
Yeah.
flies that
Yeah.
are all over everything, and you're swatting, when you're in
yeah.
the kitchen, and you think, oh my goodness, if somebody saw this on our YouTube video, they would shut us down for being nasty. But that's why I don't store a lot of stuff on my counter because of fruit flies with anything.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
put it in the
because
pantry so I can shut the door and no one can see it.
Right.
yeah, because you guys are much more humid. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
so these things will happen. Fruit will ripen faster because you have more humidity. Here in Wyoming or when I'm in Arizona, it's dry, you know? Like there's sometimes we have 6% humidity. And
Wow.
where you guys usually have 80 and 90% humidity.
Yeah.
That makes a difference. You have to know your fruit, your vegetables, where you live, what your conditions are. Um, like um, most people I know want to store their cucumbers in the refrigerator. You don't store cucumbers or zucchinis or any of that family in the refrigerator
Huh.
because what's going to happen? It's going to get those mushy ends on your cucumbers.
Right.
But if you left it on the counter, you're less likely to have that happen. So you just got to know your fruits and vegetables and where you live.
And
So
see, I
when
just need a separate room. I'm gonna call it a
yeah,
sandy room,
yeah.
and that's where I can put things. And just in case the fruit flies come, it still is storing it properly. Yeah, and I can close the door.
Well,
Yeah.
all the fruit flies are just they're just little monitors. They're little fruit policemen. They're just
Uh,
monitoring it to make sure it's still okay.
Yeah.
For a little-
right.
They're just
so when Eric's like, Monica, get all this junk off our counter, I can be like, no, Sandy said I should store this on the
Right.
counter.
See.
it's just the proper
He's not going to
He'll be
debate that. He's gonna be
calling
like,
me.
oh,
Right.
Sandy said so. It's
Now Jesse
fine.
says, so you see, Lisa, I'm just getting more ripe. And that's why he's bringing the flies in. And Commander says, I put my avocados with the bananas so that it can help the
Mm,
avocados ripen
that's a good
faster.
idea.
Right,
That's
because
awesome.
he's using ethylene gas. Like if
Okay.
you have things that aren't ripe, you put in a brown paper bag, close it up, and it's the ethylene gas that's trapped in there that makes them ripen faster.
Okay. Okay. All right. And Joyfully Orange Deborah says, fruit flies can be gotten rid of with small apple cider vinegar container, and gnats don't seem to be attracted to it.
They
But
not.
gnats don't seem to be attracted to it. Yeah, those fruit flies. But look, we set little bowls of vinegar with cellophane on top and little holes that you poke in with toothpicks to try to trap them in there. And it's a 50-50 shot. So,
Well,
See,
you
I'm bougie
you
and I get those little apples, that you can buy with the stuff in it. And I have even done one for the team and used some of my wine and pour the wine in there. And that seems to catch it the best. Who would have thunk, the fruit flies at Ormsby Farm are attracted to wine as much as we are. So
that's
well,
right.
if you have plants in your house, a lot of times in that soil that you put in there, there'll be the eggs, and so all of a sudden you have gnats or you have fruit flies and stuff. But you can use take something from outside in your garden. Those little rectangle yellow stickies.
Uh huh.
It's just a little card. When you buy them, they'll either come with the hole that you hang or they'll have a little stake that you can put in your plant. If you're having a problem with your fruit flies, just put one in your kitchen for a little while where they seem to be attracted to something and
oh, that's
just let
a good idea.
because they like that yellow color, and as soon as any part of their little body touches it, they're stuck.
That's good.
You
I had
know,
a
and
friend of mine. Yeah. No, I had a friend of mine tell me to get a bug zapper. Put that bug zapper in your kitchen, girl.
You go, "Mm, mm."
We got the Zevo, the Zevo little sticky ones, and it's a little light. And at nighttime, everything goes to that. Like in the evening, and when we shut the Zevo, and it's just a sticky one, and all the fruit. That's how we got rid of the
Oh,
flu.
that's
There you go.
cool.
Jesse's telling it right there, Zevo. We have those in our house. It costs a little bit of money, but if you're just doing fruit flies, that thing will look like hair by the time you be ready to need to get rid
Oh
of
my
it. It
gracious.
is worth it. We have one in our bathroom, we have one in the kitchen area, and one in the hallway. It
Nice.
works so well. That is the only thing that I have found. The bug zappers don't even work as good for us as the Zevo has.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
haven't heard of that.
Zevo. And it doesn't, it's safe. Like because of kids, I always think about what I have for kids, what I have for my dog.
Right.
Because I have a dumb boxer and she's young. She's 2 years old. She'll eat anything. She'll get into everything. She doesn't even pay attention to it. She comes up, she looks at it, and she walks away. Because if it smelled or if it had some sort of, because I'd be afraid she would drink the vinegar. Like she would try.
Right.
Oh,
And so anything that's chemicals, she tries to get to it. Like if it has that certain smells, and I'm
Blend
like,
the
she'll
heart.
try to. She try to end her life. She will try to. So the Zevo has been safe for her, and we love it. Absolutely love it.
yeah. And if you have plants, just remember fruit flies and gnats are in the same family as mosquitoes.
Oh,
And so anything that will kill a mosquito will kill them. So
Huh.
I get these little black pellets from the Weed and Pest. I put it in a spray bottle. It
Mhm.
dissolves extremely slowly, like months it will take. And so if I have a problem, I can just spritz that on the
nice.
soil. Another thing you could put on your soil if you think they're coming from your plants is put a layer of vermiculite or perlite or sand on top because they can't go in up and down through that. And
Oh,
then they will just die off.
Yeah.
You could make a mixture of hydrogen peroxide, like one part hydrogen peroxide to 4 parts water in a spray bottle, and you can spray that on the soil too, and that will help that.
nice.
That sounds amazing.
We're gonna have to do a whole entire episode of how to get rid of the pests
Right. And
in your life.
Yes.
And people too. We can talk about how to get rid of those people pests.
That'd be-
I got that part. Don't worry. Sandy
Yeah.
can do the actual regular pest part.
Okay, so I have it in my brain, right? Tomatoes. You can bring in the whole tomato plant in your garage or wherever, turn it upside down, and it can ripen. Or potentially wrap in newspaper and put it in a box, as long as nothing is touching. Oranges and apples especially apples, will ripen everything around you. It'll ripen all your stuff. So keep your apples separate from the rest of your fruits. When I get these little cuties, the clementines, I need to take them out of the bag and place them separate, like on a paper towel, but separately. The fruit basket thing on the table needs to go out of Dodge because that ain't real. That's going to be rotting my stuff.
I was about to say you can get the fake ones at the $1.25 tree.
Yeah.
Y'all, I have the grand dogs that come to visit, and they
Oh.
will eat anything that
Yeah.
is not tied down. And so I could see those apples and oranges having little teeth marks all over them where those dogs get those things. All right. So what else do we talk about? Squash, cucumber, zucchini doesn't have to go in the fridge if it's
Right.
especially fresh from your garden. I have noticed that it makes a big difference to just
Yeah, I
keep them
do.
on. Our kitchen table just has a spot where we put some of our harvest on. Winter squash. What did we decide about winter squash?
Don't
Because
just
that's
throw it in your pantry and forget about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really, if it's any kind of winter squash, you want it to harden off. So if you can just set it on a table inside or outside and just let it for about 2 weeks, that skin will get harder and then
okay.
it will last longer for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That sounds great. So that's good. Did we cover anything else? Bananas. We talked about bananas. What did we
And
say about
apples by themselves. And I did notice that before we sign off. I did notice that I'm on a Three Rivers homestead kick right now. And I noticed, and I always wondered why she keeps her apples, the fresh eating apples, in a fridge by itself. Like I think she gets
Mhm.
like 6 or 8 bushels, and
Oh,
that could be one reason why it's in the fridge by itself. But she never ever has anything else in that fridge
Wow.
except
right.
apples, and I'm guessing that's because what Sandy said, that it will turn everything else bad faster. So
Yeah,
Wow.
and if you're buying, say you're buying a case of apples,
mhm.
you just have to know what kind of apples they are, because
Mhm.
some apples you just need to eat right away. Some of them will store for 3 months. Some will store your entire winter. But you have to know what you're buying.
You do.
So if you want on long storing apples, you're going to an orchard, maybe it's a you pick orchard, just
Mhm.
ask them which are your longest storing apples, because some apples even get better in flavor the longer they store. But
Wow.
you just have to know which apple is which.
Mhm.
Huh. How about that?
Jackie says, I heard you should store apples with onions. Is that correct?
I have never done that. Um, I I'm not sure about that. I guess I can't answer that. I have to do a little research on that.
I don't know. I would think
Stay
Like
the
tuned.
keeping the onions in the fridge.
I would I would think
Or
the
I
onion.
don't keep, no, I don't keep my onions in the fridge. No.
We don't
Really,
either.
really the only things I keep in the fridge is if I have like beets, turnips, rutabagas, I put them in plastic bags from the grocery store and close it up and they go in the crisper. If I want to do my celery, I cut it up, put it in half gallon or gallon jars. I'll replenish the water every few days so it's fresh water, and
Mhm.
they will stay crispy and wonderful for a long time.
Now wait a minute. Say that again.
So so I
For
take my
celery.
celery out of the garden, or you
Mhm.
bought it in the store,
Yeah.
you know, wherever you bought it. Um, cut it up. I take the the tops off and the bottoms off.
Mhm.
I cut them into little sections about this big. I
Yeah.
put them in a gallon jar of water, put them in the fridge. They will last and last and last. But you
Oh
do
my
have to
gosh.
change the water out every few days.
That's what I'm gonna do because I always
know,
have
right?
I always
Me
have
too.
rotten celery. I'll buy it for like one recipe for like one thing. And then I'm
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, they're gonna eat it. The kids love it with some peanut butter. It's gonna be great. And then I go in there like a week later and it's like, whoa, and it's mush. And I'm
Yeah.
bringing a brown sludge out of my fridge. I'm like, forget it. I give up. Never buying celery again.
That's awesome though. What a great idea. I mean, I
Right.
have when I am making like a veggie tray and things like that for a
Mhm.
party, I will store them in water just for that day. But I was worried that it would take on too much water as
No,
far as
it won't take any water on. So you could put radishes, you could put carrots, you could put celery, things like that, and they will stay really crunchy. And that's what I like, because I don't like celery that gets all limp.
Yeah.
That's just like, I don't like it. I mean, I may put it in a soup, but I don't really like it.
Wait, do you ever do that with any other fruits or vegetables where you store it in water like that?
Um, no. Usually those are the things that I store in water.
now,
Just
who among us and in the chat has not pulled out a bag of carrots if you bought them at the grocery store out of your refrigerator and they're slimy?
Yeah,
ugh.
you don't want that.
Blech. So nasty. And it's usually just when I really have my taste buds ready for a carrot.
Yeah. But you can't do that with carrots too, can you? With the
She
water?
said, yeah.
With
You
carrots, yeah,
can with water.
yeah,
So you can just like slice them?
yeah. I just usually make them like French fries,
Yeah. Okay,
and
so carrots and celery with the water trick.
yeah,
And
Okay, now
radishes.
now
and
can
radishes.
you do it,
Radish.
can you do it with the carrots that are, I don't even know if they're real carrots. You know the baby carrots that you get in the store?
With a little
I heard
bit.
that those is like blended up carrots in mold, and then that's how they get them that. I don't know if
No,
that's a true story
no,
or
that,
not.
that that that's not true. They are not baby carrots though. They just there are certain carrots that are very slim when they
Uh,
grow, and they just cut them and then they round the ends. So they're just regular carrots. They're not baby
right.
carrots.
Oh
You know,
gosh. I learned something every single time. I envisioned,
I'm telling you.
either they were molded or, molded like chopped up and molded together,
no,
or that there was such a thing as a little baby carrot that grew, which
You and
there
me
is,
both.
no,
right?
because a baby carrot, when you pull them out, they're thick and then they get really skinny.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's not what these are.
No.
They're just Thin carrots. They've chopped them. They've rounded the ends. That's all they did. You know.
You heard it here first, folks.
Boom, baby.
Only at Round the Hay Bale can you learn
It's a
all this
thing.
information in 30 minutes. I'm just saying. Huh?
Thank
Speaking
you.
of Round the Hay Bale and speaking of our live shows, I think we have something to talk about before we go.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Casey, talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just me. So, with the holiday season coming up and all of our schedules, the four of us, let me tell you, we love shooting the podcast and the lives, but we're super, super busy. I mean, not only making videos for our personal channels, but we're doing the podcast and all of that. We have decided that our radio show, Hey Yall Hey, is moving to Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. But you will still be able to watch a replay on Fridays at this time at noon Eastern. So starting next week, we're going to switch her up a little bit, and you'll be able to have dinner with us on Tuesday night. Make your dinner. You've listened to the podcasts on Mondays. Get your notes, get your dinner, and come and join us at 8 p.m. Eastern on every Tuesdays. And then, of course, Fridays, you can still have lunch with us, but it will be a replay. So
if you want to interact with us live, come in on Tuesday nights so you can come in and ask your questions, especially if you've listened to the podcast on either Monday or Tuesday morning or whatever you listen. Right. You can still come in on Tuesday afternoon or evenings, hang out with us, ask all the questions. And then on Friday, if for some reason you missed us on Tuesday nights because it's not convenient for you, totally fine. You can still catch us on Fridays at our same locations at the Hay Bale and on our channels. We'll still stream to all of our channels, right, Casey?
Right.
So you can find it still and you can still do it, but we just won't be live available to interact with you like we do here. So if you want Miss Ann to say your name and say hello to you, you better come in on Tuesdays. I'm just saying, everybody knows, y'all know out there that you like hearing her say your name and say welcome in.
They sure do.
I just love them.
I love it.
Jackie, so 7 p.m. your time. Are you Central?
No, she's in Florida, so she's Eastern. 8 p.m. Eastern.
There are pieces of Florida that are Central. I learned.
Well, if you're Central, if you're Central like me, then it's 7 p.m. So it's 7 p.m. my time, 6 p.m. on Sandy's time, and 8 p.m. for Eastern. So, yeah.
And if we could give a little plug for Blessed to Crochet, she said she's having a monetization celebration.
Yay!
Tomorrow at 7:00. That's so awesome.
Congratulations.
Have giveaways and all kinds of things. That's fun. Okay, yes. Jackie is
Central.
Oh, my bad.
7 p.m. So
7 p.m.
What is it? 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m.
Mountain,
5 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah.
There we go, y'all. We'll have it posted on our social media. So our Around the Hay Bale Facebook and our Instagram and on our YouTube.
Yeah.
We'll have a little flyer that comes out. So you can go over, give it a thumbs up. But we hope you join us now starting on Tuesday nights. And we thank everyone that came in today. We have so much fun doing these lives and getting to interact with you. And so look for our new episode coming out Monday. I don't really know what we're talking about because my brain's all over the place right now, but I know it's a great topic.
It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be amazing. And then we will see y'all next Tuesday night here on Round the Hay Bale for another episode of Hey Yall Hey. So bye, y'all. Bye. Y'all have a wonderful weekend.
Bye.
Bye, y'all. Bye.
Hey, Monica, did you know it's now even easier to listen to Round the Hay Bale podcast?
What? Really? How easy?
That's right. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play Round the Hay Bale podcast.
Playing Round the Hay Bale podcast on Apple Music.
Ooh, we're really fancy now.
Tune in to Round the Hay Bale every Monday at 9 a.m. Central Time.